Victor, when we started the House of Horns podcast, the new podcast we had here, we had discussions. We said, hey, we need to get the best of the best guests, the best beat reporters, and I think we delivered this week. For sure we did. So introducing our special guest of the week, D. Orlando Ledbetter, Falcons beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. D, welcome to the show. And I was just on your show, the Bow Tie Chronicles. Thank you for having me on the show. But how does it feel to be on this show, and how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm grateful to be on the House of Horns today, Gilbert. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a great discussion about this upcoming football game between the two teams we cover, the Atlanta Falcons and the defending Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I love that. It should be a good, exciting week 2 matchup, D. But before we get to some football, I want to get to know you a little bit. Like I keep telling you, I've been following your work for many years. Uh, First of all, how long you been covering the Falcons as a beat reporter? How you always been at the newspaper here at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution? Hopefully, I keep getting that right. I know it's a long name. But D, how long you been there, and when did you start first rocking the bow tie?
Yeah, I started rocking that back in law school in the late '90s, but been at the AJC since '03 and been on the Falcons beat since '05. 17th season covering them. I had a background with the Bengals and with the Packers. Covered the Packers for most of the '90s, but been here in Atlanta since 2000 and at the paper since '03 and covering the Jim Mora Falcons. Michael Vick, Matt Ryan, Bobby Petrino, Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, and now Arthur Smith as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Look at that. You've seen it all. Going back, I think 17 years now, if my math is correct. So I'm glad we have you on the show to talk Atlanta Falcons. But D, in those 17 years, I'm sure you've covered a lot of one-score games, blown leads, nail biters, all that, and they just had one in the Week 1 opener for the 2022 season against the rival New Orleans Saints. I know it was a kind of a strange game. They looked good for the first 3 quarters. They got a lead. But to let us slip away, kind of the reoccurring theme. How's the mood in the locker room? How's the mood around the team? Because do they take a moral victory? Because a lot of people count them out early and they only lost by a point, or is it kind of like the same old taste? Here we go again, blown leads.
Yeah, it's a young team and it's a new. Only a couple players left from the Super Bowl team, three, and one is on IR. So it's not the same war as me type of deal that we saw kind of creep in 19 when they blew a couple back to back like this after the Super Bowl and so forth. So it's the new approach to a blown lead is that they are taking credit for the 3 quarters here that they did come out and play ball for 3 quarters and just hey we got to expand on that. That seems to be the theme as you talk to a lot of the guys on Monday and Sunday after the game. They were going to take their credit for the pass rush and being able to run the ball even though they needed one more yard, and for some reason I still can't figure out why you're averaging 5.5 yards a carry and you don't run the ball on 4th and 1 to ice the game. But coach, defending his decision to not do that. That's just where they're at here in Atlanta, trying to move forward, knowing they're going to get the Rams' best shot.
Hey D, I was rewatching the game this morning, and one of the things that stood out, like you just talked about, was the run game, that offensive line. I was really I was really impressed with Cordarrelle Patterson. The way I had no idea that he could run inside the tackles like he did against the Saints. How impressed were you by that offensive line going in, and then Cordarrelle Patterson? How are they using him differently in Atlanta that they're able to feature him more?
Yeah, because everybody knows he came in as a wide receiver and morphed into a kick returner and was one of the game's top kick returners. And then Bill Belichick put him in the backfield. That was the first person to do it. And the Falcons are just expanding on that, with the type of runs, straight ahead type runs, not a lot of pitches, tosses, and sweeps and stuff. Just get into a spot and he can cut back if he doesn't like the spot, and and he can swerve around defenders if he has to do that. He made Demario Davis miss. A little bit more elusive for a bigger back than you would think. So And they're just in a place where they got to maximize their talent across the board. And so, you find yourself basically with a wide receiver as your top running back.
Can you also expand on the offensive line? Were you impressed by the offensive line? I mean, they gave up no sacks, and they had over 200 yards rushing.
Yes, I was impressed with the line. That was one of our 5 things we learned on Sunday, was that the offensive line came to play. They jumped up in the Saints' grill and moved them around a little bit. But I'm tempered because I know that Arthur Smith is really great at design and scheming up some things that may last or may not last. So I don't know if this was one of those things where the angles were just right and they hit it, or I need to see it again. I need to see it over and over for me to say, okay, this real or Memorex? But I definitely was impressed in those 3.5 quarters of running football. But if you really got a powerful running game and it's 4th and 1, you're gonna go run it. And
Yeah.
so it was something there that gave him pause to not do it. And that's the only thing that's tempering my excitement for the work of that line. You got Jake Matthews at left tackle, Elijah Wilkerson at left guard, a new center, Drew Dahlman from Stanford, is taking over from Matt Hennessy, and Chris Lindstrom, right guard from Boston College, and then Caleb McGarry, a kid from the Pac-10 out there, the old Pac-10. I think it's 12 now. It might be 16.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It used to be 8.
Yeah, it used to be 8. But yeah, Caleb McGarry from the University of Washington didn't get his 5th-year option picked up, but he was billed as a run blocker when he got here. And but then Matt Ryan, they had to pass a lot because they were behind. He couldn't do it. He couldn't handle the elite speed. But one of my guys here in Atlanta, Big Chuck Smith, he trains the defensive lineman and so forth, former, member of the 98 Falcons and so forth. He told me today that even McGarry was out there throwing hands. He didn't get them all the time, but he was out there throwing them. So that's an upgrade for the Atlanta Falcons, that he's at least getting to some people, and, did a great job there against the Saints. So that's something you want to travel. You can run the ball for 200 yards. You should be able to do that. I mean, they know it's coming, but that's the sign of a good team, and that's where Arthur Smith comes from Tennessee. I don't see a Derrick Henry on the roster though, but it's the same type of attitude that you want to play with, and they certainly came out and did that against the Saints on Sunday.
Well, one of the big boys, right? And one of the big boys they have is rookie Drakelondon, who's coming home. He played at USC. He's from Moore Park out here. He looks the part. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Drake. He did a great job in the offseason, but I know, the offseason, the OTAs and so forth, they had him running a lot of out routes and in-breaking stuff. TJ Watts, who is the TJ Yates, I'm sorry. TJ Watts is another lineman there in Pittsburgh. But TJ Yates, the Falcons wide receivers coach, he said, London can get open deep. We just haven't seen that part. We didn't see that a lot in practice. But, he came in the game. He had the knee injury, and he played. He had 5 catches for 74 yards, looked good, showed some ability to make some yards after the catch. He's going to be open because teams are doubling Kyle Pitts. And so he made him some plays when the ball came his way against the Saints. And folks here in Atlanta are used to having elite receivers, and they're ready to welcome Drakelondon into that group.
We spoke about this on the Bowtie Chronicles. I gave you my point of view of the Rams' banged up offensive line. So I got to hear yours on the Falcons' pass rush. It starts with Grady Jarrett. What can you tell me about how they use Grady Jarrett? Can you tell me more about the rest of the guys? I feel like I'm just honing in on one guy, the star player, but can this pass rush or this front 7 for the Falcons utilize or capitalize on the banged up Rams offensive line with no center, a banged up left tackle, and they just gave up 7 sacks to Von Miller and the Bills? What have you seen from this pass rush?
Yeah, the Falcons were able to get 4 sacks against the Saints, none late when they needed them, and 8 quarterback hits on the Saints. So they were able to fluster Jameis early, but couldn't get to him late. Grady Jarrett, your main guy up front. Lorenzo Carter was brought in as a free agent from the Giants to help rush from the outside linebacker spot. Audie Ogundeji is another outside linebacker they like, but Audie hasn't had a lot of production. He played a lot as a rookie and didn't get there last week either. Arnold Ibikute, a second-round pick out of Penn State, he did get there and got a quarterback hit and is supposedly the physical pass rusher, speed rusher that they like. So he got there, he got home, and they play off of Grady is what they'll do. They'll fabricate some action off of Grady. They were so worried about Grady that Mikael Walker came free, the inside linebacker, and had the easiest sack of his career, perhaps, on Jameis. So, the attention of Grady will attract the attention, and they'll try to play off of that and get to the quarterback and, do this, stunts and so forth and twist up front to try to shake some people free. But it was a promising start. It was the first time they had 4 sacks in a game since a game against the Packers in 2018. I counted that up. That was 52 games ago. So this was the most promising pass rush we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be one of the keys to the matchup is Stafford against his defensive line or the front seven, and can he get enough time for the O line to create down the field? Because if he doesn't get enough time, you already know he's gonna be looking at Cooperkupp, and that could be a good matchup between Cooperkupp and AJ Tyrell. So kind of a two-parter, because I want you to tell the Rams fans who are listening, how would you describe AJ Tyrell as a cornerback? I think he's very underrated. He was a second-team All-Pro last year. This guy's a stud. But also he's coming off kind of a shaky game against Michael Thomas. What did you see in that matchup? But let us know about AJ Tyrell a little bit too.
Yeah, AJ's a local kid from Westlake. We've been following him for a while. Went up to Clemson, had a really, really tough game against Jamar Chase in the title game. And but that didn't deter the Falcons. They liked the way he handled himself, the way he had a short memory in that regard. So he was drafted a little bit higher than anticipated. E.J. Henderson was the top corner supposedly that year, and I think he's already on the second team. So AJ came in, had the benefit of a great, teacher in Raheem Morris, whether, things didn't work out too good for that coaching staff or him as the interim, but he was able to get a base of, in the NFL to get AJ Tyrell off to a great start as a rookie. And they've been able to build on that so much so last year that they did put him on Stephon Diggs, and he handled himself, didn't get beat bad in that game. But on Sunday against the Saints, he some great routes by Michael Thomas, great route runners, and the ball. He's a great route runner, and the ball was on the money from Winston, but we're not making excuses for AJ. He was a guy in coverage and let his guy get away from him at a couple inopportune times. So he's going to come out there with a chip on his shoulder and, short memory and try to go at it with, one of the league's top receivers, probably the league's top receiver at this time.
Yeah, D, it's kind of similar what AJ Terrell's going off of week one. Like Jalenramsey got beat a couple of times by Stephon Diggs, so they kind of want to get that out of their memory. But last thing, D, before we let you go, I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate the insight, but we haven't even spoken about the quarterback just yet. The new one, Marcus Mariota. I know he's not on the level of Josh Allen, but he's mobile. That could really affect the Rams. That was an issue a week ago for Bobby Wagner and the gang. But how has Marcus been doing so far in this? I don't know if it's a bridge year or what. And also, how can he get Kyle Pitts more involved? You mentioned the double teams. How can they kind of work together?
Yeah, the Mariota's doing a great job of running the offense. He knows that he came from he was in Tennessee when Arthur Smith was there, so it wasn't a lot of new stuff for him. He just had to get refamiliarized with it. But they ran a lot of his stuff. The big fuss in Tennessee was he's got to get under center. We got to run affirmation, and got a lot of coaches fired because they wouldn't put in the pistol and the type of things that he can do. So I wasn't surprised that they, went heavy pistol against the Saints. A lot of RPOs. One thing he's going to have to get better at is hitting those on the passing part of it. It was a little wild on his passes to Kyle Pitts. He threw late, to Kyle Pitts. Kyle made a great catch on the sideline, would have been about 18 yards, but the ball was late. So, his timing and rhythm, that's going to be off early because they don't play in the preseason anymore. He threw one bomb to Pitts. That was their one play together in the exhibition season. And, we see early on teams working their rhythm and timing out. And so I think the rhythm and timing of the passing game, as they get that timed up better, he'll be able to get Kyle the ball. And then, you got to come with the pick plays and rub routes and all things like that. If he's going to be attracting a lot of attention, then you got to move him around and let him stun people from different positions and so forth. So they know what to do with getting Kyle Pitts loose and getting that game timed up. So, those are some of the things that Mariota and Kyle will have to work on moving forward.
Well, D, we really appreciate the knowledge. I'm excited. I'm amped for this matchup now. Rams Falcons Sunday, week 2 at SoFi Stadium. Thank you for coming on for the inside. You're the man. You've done it for a long time. D, Orlando Ledbetter, Falcons beat reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Really appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on the House of Horns. It's been a pleasure, Gilbert, working with you today.